On today's show, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going for their 14th straight win tonight. A big reason why they've got 13 straight to open up the season. Well, I think they have a top 3 backcourt in the entire NBA. We're going to talk about DARIUS GARLAND and Donovan Mitchell on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my new Substack, The Inside Shot, 92.3 The Fan, Cleveland Magazine, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, and be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. The show's also available on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs on YouTube. If you're watching this video right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show, of course, is sponsored by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Also need to let you know, Locked On Cavs now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter. It is your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Cavs newsletter. The Cavs are looking to go to 14-0 on Friday night as they take on the Chicago Bulls. It is the first NBA Cup game of the year for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it is a game that we're going to see the Cavs face another stiff challenge. Again, I don't think the Bulls are all that great, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts this week, coming off the game we saw these two teams play against each other on Monday. But the Cavs are a team that right now looks like a team that has played 13 games in 22 days. This will be game number 14 in 24 days. It's been a rough stretch for them. They've not had a lot of time off, but a big reason why the Cavs are 13-0 right now has been the play of the backcourt. While Donovan Mitchell has shown up and been Donovan Mitchell for the most part, I still think he has another gear that he can get to that he hasn't quite gotten to. He still has been an all-star caliber player. But his backcourt mate, DARIUS GARLAND, I think is playing now the best basketball of his career. That includes when Garland made the all-star team a few years ago. That includes Darius's first year with Donovan Mitchell, where I thought things worked out pretty good. But what I think we are seeing from DARIUS GARLAND is the best basketball he's ever played. So far this year, he's been clutch for the Cavs. He's been spectacular in end-of-game situations. He's been great as a shooter. He's taking care of the basketball, I think, much better than he has in years past, particularly last year. His shot diet has changed for the better. Everything about DARIUS GARLAND's game right now has been something that I think Cavs fans should be really, really happy with. He's been very, very good. Donovan Mitchell also has been very, very good. It's no shock that both of these guys have an Eastern Conference Player of the Week honor to their name 3 weeks into the season because they've both been that good. So that got me to thinking, where exactly does this backcourt rank amongst the NBA's best? And I talked to some people that I trusted about this earlier on Thursday, and the only two answers that I can see convincingly that, like, I don't think it's a discussion, Dallas with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, and Luka is considered a point guard for this, and Kyrie's a shooting guard, and Luka is one of the 3 best players in basketball, and that's what does it there. Because I would rather have Donovan Mitchell over Kyrie Irving, but I just think that Luka is so far ahead anyone else in this conversation that that's what does it. And then the other one's Oklahoma City with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams. Those are the only 2 teams that I think right now have an argument that the backcourt there is better than the backcourt in Cleveland. A lot of that is because Donovan Mitchell is that guy because he's a superstar. But a big part of that is because DARIUS GARLAND has been an all-star caliber guy again this year, where he's rebounded so tremendously from what last year was for him, from what was such a down year, a nightmare of a season, as I've called it several times right here on this podcast. He's rebounded from that so well and returned to all-star form. So I think with that, the Cavs have the best backcourt in the Eastern Conference. Now, you can look and say Boston's backcourt's pretty good. Yeah, Drew Holiday and Derek White are really nice players. Now, if Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were the backcourt, that'd be different, but those guys are not. They're small forward, power forward. I don't see another group that I look at. I would rather have Garland and Mitchell over Brunson and whoever else you want to put in the backcourt with him, whether it's Hart or somebody else playing shooting guard on any given night, McBride, whoever you want to slide in there. I would rather have the Cavs grouping. I would. You can go up and down the East. I don't think there's a team in the Eastern Conference that you look at their backcourt situation and say, yeah, I would rather take that than what the Cavaliers have right now. And so much of that is because of what Darius Garland has done. So per 36 minutes this year, Darius Garland is up to, and I think this is appropriate because due to some blowouts earlier in the season, and because I do think Kenny Atkinson is managing minutes differently, due to that, guys aren't playing a ton of minutes. I was talking on the phone earlier today with Martin Rickman, who's the editor for my Substack, The Inside Shot, about doing something about how much less Donovan Mitchell has played, where last year, I believe Donovan only had 19 games where he played less than 35 minutes, which was his season average. Played 55 games last year, only played 19 of them, 34 or less minutes. Donovan has not yet played 35 minutes in a game, and we're 13 games into this. So this has affected, I think, the way we look at stats, because, if you just look on paper, Donovan Mitchell only averaging 23 points a game, not having that great of a season. Well, no, his minutes are down. So, of course, his point total is down, where he's still averaging almost 28 points per 36 minutes. He's still been really, really good. It's just he's playing 4 fewer minutes per game, with 5 fewer minutes per game, really, which is a really big deal. But Darius Garland is a great one to look at because he's up to almost 25 points and 8 assists per game. Those are all-star numbers, especially while you're doing it on 50, 40, 90 shooting splits. Just under 90. I think he needs to make like 2 more. His next 2 free throws will be back up to 90%. That's who Darius Garland's been. So I don't think that there's very many backcourts in the NBA that anyone should be taking over this grouping right now. I don't. And I also look at this, and yeah, maybe Garland's shooting numbers are going to come down a touch. Maybe he's not going to shoot 45% from 3. Maybe Donovan Mitchell's not going to shoot 40% from 3. Maybe that stuff's going to dip a little bit. And if it does, that's fine. But none of the stuff that these two are doing is unsustainable. We're watching them, I think, fit together so much better offensively than we have in the past. And I've been a believer that it could work. And I thought it worked relatively well the first year. But there was much more of a your turn, my turn in that first year, where now it seems like everything that each of these guys gets comes within the flow of the offense. And that is part of the reason why I don't think this is something that is unsustainable. And I think we've seen that at the end of games, that both guys are willing to take a step back and let the other guy go to work when they have it going on, when they need to close out a game. We've seen Donovan do that for Darius. We saw Darius do that against Philadelphia on Wednesday night. I don't think any of that's going anywhere. I don't. Again, the shooting numbers might dip a little bit, but we're talking about the Cavs, and I was wrong about this. I said before the season, I didn't see, no matter how good Darius Garland was, I didn't see how he would be somebody that would be in the all-star discussion, because it's really difficult to have 2 guys that play in the same backcourt, both in the all-star game. But now, with what we've seen from Garland, I don't see how he's not, right? I mean, he's been an all-star starter. If the all-star break came today, obviously it doesn't. We're 14 games in after tonight for the Cavs. That'd be really stupid to have an all-star game that early. But these two would be the all-star starters in the Eastern Conference in the backcourt, and there would not be a question about it. That's how good both of them have been. That has been one of the biggest reasons why the Cavs are 13-0, because those guys have been great, and they've both also been able to will the Cavs to victories at various points. Donovan willed that team to a win on Wednesday night. Darius has willed that team to wins against New York, against Milwaukee, when he outdueled Damian Lillard down the stretch. There's just not very many guards that are having better seasons than either of these 2 guys right now. They've been that good. They've been that impressive. And I don't see why it can't keep up. Again, maybe not to the exact level that it's been so far, but I don't see why these 2 both can't be all-stars. I mean, I really, truly do think if this keeps up the way it is, we're going to be talking about both of them as potential all NBA candidates because they have been that good so far. They have been that impactful on winning so far. That's what matters too. The Cavs are a great team, and it's really hard to be a great team with two smaller guards. But when your two smaller guards play as well as these guys have, you get greatness. And that's what we're seeing from the Cavs. The Cavs still, despite being 13-0, maybe 14-0 after tonight, they're not whole. Max Strus has been on the injury report the entire season. When he comes back, how does that change things? We're going to talk about that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25 APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. That's robinhood.com/gold. Terms do apply. Specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can get the show anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Also available on YouTube. If you're watching this video right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. So I threw out on Blue Sky and Twitter. Yes, I am on Blue Sky. It is lovely. You should absolutely check it out. You can find me on there at Danny Cunningham if you're interested. That I had time tonight for a couple of questions. I think this is a good point in the season to sort of look at the bigger picture a little bit. So I thought it'd be a good time to take a couple of questions. And the question that I got most frequently in both places was about Max Strus. Bobby Shenanigans asked, everything's obviously going perfect for the Cavs right now. But they're not 100%. Like, is it a bad thing that Max Strus is going to come in and at some point change the way this basketball team looks? You know, someone else, when minutes get cut, whose minutes are going to get cut when Strus comes back? And the way the Cavs are going to look, one, Max Strus is going to make this team better. I firmly believe that. I think a lot of what Max does in terms of the off-ball cutting, and this was a big conversation too. Think back to earlier in the season when we were talking about Dean Wade being the starting small forward in Max Strus's place when we found out Strus was going to miss basically 5 to 6 weeks. And the big difference between Wade and Strus is that Strus is somebody that moved off the ball quite a bit more, where Wade this is on offense, where Wade was thought of more as a stationary shooter, a guy that you could camp in the corner or camp on the wings. He's not going to move a ton, but he's going to knock down shots. Strus is going to knock down those shots, but he's going to find himself in those positions a little bit differently. Well, that would then lead me to ask, well, what is one of the things that we've seen be so good about this Cavs offense? What is one of the reasons why, aside from the fact that they've been a really good shooting team, what is one of the reasons why the Cavs have been so good offensively? It's because they're a great cutting team right now. They're doing a great job of knowing when to cut towards the basket, who should be cutting towards the basket. The timing, like I said, is perfect. They're finishing at the rim. They're creating great looks. The passes that like Donovan and Darius are throwing to available cutters have been fantastic. Max Strus is perfect for that. Like, that is Max Strus's game in a nutshell. Defensively, he's good. He's going to knock down shots. Everything. The best way I can describe Max is he is a great connector. He's a really, really great connector. And the Cavs, I'm not saying they need that right now because they're 13-0, and obviously anything negative you say about them right now is just kind of getting a little nitpicky because they've not lost. Like there's just not a ton to be negative about. But Max Strus is a very helpful player. There's a reason why Max Strus was thought of as the starting small forward before the season. There's a reason why the Cavs' ideal starting five last year, that of course only played 28 games together, had Max Strus at small forward because he is a starter. That's what he should be. Now, what does the rest of the rotation look like when Max comes back? I do think Kenny's going to try and play 11 guys because if you look at this rotation, who do you leave out? There's really not an answer there. Ty Jerome's the 10th guy right now. He is playing the fewest minutes of the rotation players. Do you want to not play Ty Jerome? I don't think that'd be a good idea. With how good he's been for this team, I think Ty Jerome is very firmly in that rotation. I think George Niang has been pretty good this year. I think Sam Merrill has been really good this year and provides a lot of spacing. Isaac Okoro has been good. Karis LeVert's been fantastic. I mean, everybody that's come off the bench has played well. What I think this looks like is several guys will get a few minutes cut off. And it's not going to be the Rome was built in a day thing. Like I would not expect Max to come back and be immediately playing 30 minutes. I'm not sure he's going to average 30 minutes this year. I could see Max being in a place where he averages 27 minutes a night. And that's fine with the Cavs. But I do think that we're going to see guys that get their minutes cut, but I don't think that the rotation is going to be something that changes too much. Like I don't think suddenly someone's going to stop playing. Like Isaac Okoro is playing 20 minutes a night right now. That's his season average. It's a little bit higher at the moment because he's in the starting lineup. Say that's down to 15 minutes a night. Well, there's 5 minutes. Dean Wade is at 22 minutes a night. Cut that down to 17 minutes a night. There's 10 minutes for Max Strus. Karis LeVert's at 24 minutes a night. Maybe that goes down to 21. You're at 12 minutes now. George Niang's at 18. Maybe that goes down to 12. You're up to 18 minutes. Like there are ways to include Max in different lineups that really will be beneficial to the Cavs. But I do think, and this is going to be a challenge, and I'm glad that I don't have to figure this out. I'm glad Kenny Atkinson has to do this and not me, because it's going to be a challenge. But I do think there's a way to play 11 guys. I do. The Cavs right now don't have somebody that you can look at and say, that guy really shouldn't be on the floor. The Cavs are better off without that guy. Everyone they've played, I think, has impacted winning. And it's really hard. And again, when Max Strus comes back, because he's not coming back next week, when Max Strus gets back, the Cavs are probably not going to be undefeated. Probably not. Maybe. You never say never, but probably not going to be undefeated. But they will be a winning basketball team. They will be one of the two best teams in the Eastern Conference, I'm willing to bet. So you don't want to mess with what you have too much. But Max Strus is somebody that's going to make this team better. He is. He's going to be somebody that makes this team better. I think several guys are going to lose a few minutes here and there, and that ultimately is going to add up to like 25 minutes for Max Strus. And I think the Cavs would be in a really good place. Now, balancing that, is that a nightly thing? Are you playing 11 every night? Or are there some guys that don't play in certain matchups? Those are questions I will be very curious to hear the answers from Kenny Atkinson on when that time comes. That is something when that time comes, I will be very interested to hear that. One of the other questions I did want to get to, just because it involves a Central Division rival, the Milwaukee Bucks have been a tire fire to start the season. And Vinny Gates asked, do you think that the Cavs would even pursue a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade, or is it just too unrealistic to even bother with? It's too unrealistic to bother with. I don't think that the Cavs, I'm not saying, I never say never, but I don't think that the Cavs would have, one, I don't think right now they have interest in breaking up this core, even for a player of Giannis's caliber. And two, I don't think the Cavs have enough in terms of assets to acquire him. Like I think that any package, if and when Giannis does ask out of Milwaukee, and I have no reason to believe he will, but if that ever happens, the Bucks are going to request an absolute treasure chest of draft picks. Go look at what the Cavs have available to trade in terms of their draft picks. It's not much. So I don't think the Cavs are going to be involved in any conversation like that. I don't think they pick up the phone to make that call. Like, I just don't think that happens, because I think that what Milwaukee would want to get back is a non-starter for the Cavs, because they can't do it. Last one I wanted to get to, from Ryan Meeks. Ryan asks, how much of Garland's turnaround was his health issues from last year versus how much of it was the Cavs playing at a slower pace because that's what JB Bickerstaff wanted to do? I think it is a little bit of both, but I think it's much more of the health issues he went through last year, because it's not as if we never saw Darius Garland be. We haven't seen him play at this level, but we also can't act like last year, the guy he was last year is what he had been his entire career, and just all of a sudden he's an all-star caliber player. No, he was an all-star caliber player before last year, and what happened last year had nothing to do with JB Bickerstaff. It had everything to do with all the things that Darius Garland went through. Now, that said, I do think the style of basketball Kenny Atkinson has the Cavs playing is something that has accentuated Garland's game. It has sort of, I think, pushed him past where he was before. But I think Garland just being healthy and feeling like himself and playing the game of basketball with joy again doesn't have a ton to do with who's the coach. I think it has a lot to do with where Darius is at, both physically and mentally. And I think in both areas there, he's in a much, much, much better place than he was throughout last season. I think that's the biggest reason why we're seeing such a different version of Darius Garland, such a better version of Darius Garland. The Cleveland Cavaliers on Thursday unveiled new uniforms. We love new uniforms. We're going to talk about the new uniforms next, right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's edition of Locked On Cavs is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, of course, is America's #1 sports book. I've been telling you that for a long time. Why have I been telling you that for a long time? Because FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. They got everything you need: NHL, NBA, MLB, when that's in season, NFL, whatever you need, FanDuel has it. And plus, right now, if you're a new customer and you make a $5 bet and you win that $5 bet, you will get $150 in bonus bets back. So one of the things I've been looking for, we've been talking about this a bunch throughout the year, the NBA Cup. I said prior to the season, I love the Cavs as a potential NBA Cup winner. Well, right now, as I am doing this read at 11:52 on Thursday night, Eastern time, the Cleveland Cavaliers have the second best odds to win the NBA Cup on FanDuel at plus 800. The only team with better odds than them are the New York Knicks at plus 650. And I will say, I believe New York's odds are better than them right now, solely because the Knicks have a win in group play already, because they beat Philadelphia on Tuesday. So they have a leg up in their group right now. But the Cavs have the second best odds. I mean, this time tomorrow night, the Cavs might have the best odds to win the NBA Cup. Might be something just worth perusing. The other thing with the Cavs that I just want to keep updating all season long as it's available is the regular season win total. Started off the year 48.5. Told you I love the over. Right now on FanDuel, that number is 56.5. Maybe you think the Cavs are going to win 57 games. If so, maybe put a little wager over 56.5 at FanDuel. But it is America's #1 sports book. And right now you can get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just head on over to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com today. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. The show is also available on YouTube. If you're watching this right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. So on Thursday, all of the NBA unveiled their City Edition uniforms. The Cavs held their little unveiling ceremony at the Cleveland Museum of Art. I was in attendance there. I really like these uniforms. I think they're really cool. I love the side panels. And just as to talk in further detail about this, I did a story for Cleveland Magazine. I had, an inside look at how these. I got to talk with the people that had input in designing them, people with the museum. So I got a lot of opinions. I did a on this for a story that is out at Cleveland Magazine. And the uniforms are really, really cool. I love the light blue shade. Being inside the art museum on Thursday, like that wall isn't quite that shade, but you can see where they get it from. And I think that's a really cool thing. The side panels to me are my favorite part of it. I think that is such a cool, unique thing that they're able to do. I love that it's because, and the way it was explained to me was your first, whether you realize it or not, and typically you don't, but the first art that you're ever really is a coloring book, right? That's what the side is supposed to look like. It is supposed a coloring book. And I think that's a really, really cool thing. Now, the Cavs will be debuting Sunday. There also is a alternate court because, of course, in 2024, you don't have alternate jerseys without having an alternate court. We're going to see an alternate court today for the NBA Cup. Do not like the alternate court that's going up on Friday against Bulls whatsoever. But I absolutely love the City Edition alternate court. I think it looks phenomenal. They've got that tearaway panel that I mentioned that looks like a coloring book that goes through the court, like from the bench sideline all the way to the across the court, like diagonally almost. I think it looks amazing. I can't wait to see the Cavs play basketball on it. I think it's going to look awesome. Cavs play 6 games in the City Edition uniforms throughout this year. I think they're a great look. I really do. I'm not sure that they're my favorite City Edition uniforms they've ever had. I thought last year's with the Playhouse Square look was phenomenal. I thought the Cavs knocked that out of the park, but I think these are probably a close second for me. I really, really am impressed. I think that light blue color is very easy on the eyes. I think it's very appealing to look at. So it's really awesome stuff. I'm excited to see what the Cavs look like wearing these. So we will get our first look at that on Sunday. But I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, and be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure they are subscribed as well. You can also check out the show on YouTube. If you're watching this right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and I will be back talking Cavs basketball after Friday night's game.